So my name's Tony O'Brien. I'm with Trueshield Insurance. We're one of the partners of Enterprise Toronto, and it's a real pleasure to be here today. So going to walk you through a presentation discussing small business insurance, touch on a number of different components, hopefully have a few laughs while we're going through it, and certainly at the end, hopefully we'll have time for some questions. So with that being said, away we go. So every entrepreneur has a checklist of some sort. Some will have 10 items on it, some will have 1,000 items on it. And, does your business solve a problem? Do you have a solid business plan? Do you have your network of support people? Lawyers, accountants, etc. But the one question we find is way down on the list, if it makes the list at all, is can your product or service be insured? Most business people are relatively savvy, and they understand if they've got a retail store, people can slip and fall. If they've got a product, is it something, that can break and may cause an injury or damage? But our job as underwriters are to stretch the imagination, and you would be shocked at some of the crazy ideas that we see. And so if somebody were to bring us baby toupees, the questions we have to ask ourselves are, what happens if the toupee falls off and the baby starts to chew it? Could they choke? Is there an adhesive that's used that can cause a skin problem? And so that's our job, to sit there and work with our customers and say, have you thought of this? So, as I say, our job is to stretch the imagination and to be there to really help our customers. One of the common things we do find is, and especially in today's world with people running home-based businesses, they assume that, I'm small, I'm running out of my home, I don't need insurance, or my homeowner's insurance will cover me. And there's a lot of myths around how home-based business insurance can actually work. And it's very important that our customers, when they are running a home-based business, understand the risks and actually properly protect themselves. And we'll touch on some things a little further along. So what does a liability policy actually cover? And the reason I'm focusing on the liability aspect is that tends to be the area where we see the greatest exposure to our customers. If somebody owns a building and it burns down, that's very easy to assess. But a lot of people can't necessarily wrap their heads around the liability exposures that they have. So, liability covers the bodily injuries to customers, to employees. It's the personal injuries that are sustained. It's the damage to third-party property that can occur, and as well advertising injury. Slander situations that people can find themselves in. So what can go wrong? Okay, and I'm going to give you some real simple examples here. We won't bring the baby toupees into play here, but bodily injury. You're a consultant doing a presentation, you trip and fall, the client trip and falls over a computer bag and injures themselves. They could actually come after you as the customer. A yoga or fitness instructor, giving instruction, and there's an injury to one of their customers. They could go after the instructor. Damage to third parties, property. Situation, you're out at a customer, you're an IT consultant, you slip and fall, your coffee goes over their server, destroys it. They can come after you. Somebody who's doing home maintenance from a carpet cleaner, example we use here, uses the wrong solution, causes damage. They're going to be liable. Personal injury. A lot of people don't realize that you're out there bad-mouthing a customer, a client, and it comes back to haunt you. They can come after you, and that is protection that would be provided under your liability policy. So why is business insurance necessary? Number one, it protects the business from lawsuits. And what a lot of people don't realize is even if you don't feel you've done something wrong and at the end of the day you are not liable, the fact is somebody can sue you and you can be drawn into a long drawn-out court process, and the legal fees can add up quite quickly, and those would be covered under your policy. The financial impact on your business, especially for a small business. For a larger corporation to have to pay out, $50,000, $100,000 to make somebody go away, well, for a small business, that could mean the difference between continuing your business or having to shut it down. So making sure that you're properly protected. And as well, the positive aspect of going to your customers and saying that you're properly insured and knowing that they are dealing with a business or a service that is properly protected. So what's the point? Number one, it's to protect people and their property. Number two, it's to protect your bottom line, to make sure you're not incurring any financial hardship that you wouldn't normally incur. The peace of mind that it gives you as a business owner, knowing that in the event something goes wrong or somebody feels you've harmed them, that you are protected. And as well, finally, to enhance your reputation as a business. So 3 different ways a business can be at risk. Thinking the business won't get sued because it's too small, okay? Whether you have 1 customer or you've got 1,000 customers, all it takes is 1 incident for somebody to sue you. Failing to purchase the right coverage. One of the things we find very often is we will have, especially in the consulting field, somebody tell us, oh yeah, I'm insured. They would have just a standard property and liability policy, yet their biggest exposure is really an errors and omissions situation, where they are giving advice to a third party, and basically through errors and omissions, there is damage done to that third party. And it's amazing the number of consultants we talk to that aren't purchasing the right coverage. And then finally is forgetting to keep your policy updated, and especially for startups and small businesses who tend to grow, they don't realize that as their business grows, they need to keep their insurer advised, whether they're adding new equipment, whether they're bringing on new employees, whether their sales are now expanding beyond Canada globally, all sorts of different factors, and I'll touch on a number of them in a bit. So what information do you need to get a quote when you're a startup or a small business? It's really quite simple. And one of the things we've done at Trueshield is our organization is mainly focused on startups and small businesses. And when we looked at establishing our small business brand, we looked at how most insurance companies were treating this segment. And it was the 20-page application, the multiple questions that people didn't know how to answer. So we have really tried to simplify things. Basically, what we're going to ask you is, what is your business? Get a description. What are your projected annual revenues? What's the value of your stuff? And we try and use language like this to take out the good old insurance talk that confuses the hell out of people. So, do you have stock? Do you own a building? What's the equipment you need to make your business run? Number of employees. Have you had any claims? One of the things we like to do is see how well people are managing their business. And I do need to point out here, we are one of the few organizations that actually will support startups, and we recognize if you haven't been in business, you haven't had any claims, but we do factor the experience somebody has, whether it be their training or certification, that will come into our decision making. And then if it's a retail operation, how well protected is it? So how much coverage does a business need? It really varies by the business, the class of the business, the type of work they're doing. Are they Canadian? Are they global? And a few simple examples I give you here. If you've got a contractor working on $1 million homes, really they should have at least $5 million of liability coverage. For an interior designer who's working on a home doing $100,000 projects, really having errors and omissions protection to cover them for the limit of the project would be key. So coming back to when should you revisit your coverage, there's a number of times or a number of factors that should come into this decision. Your employees, have you added staff, and what is their experience? Has your workspace changed? Have you gone from being a home office to actually having a bricks and mortars location? Any new agreements that you've entered into? Vehicles, have you added new vehicles, changed your vehicles, making sure that your insurance company's updated there? And there's a number of other factors here that I won't walk you through, but it's really key that on an ongoing basis you're revisiting what your business is doing and making sure that your insurance company is updated. So once again, you're properly protected and there's no surprises at the end of the day. So a bit about who Trueshield is. Trueshield, we're a 100% Canadian-owned company. We're a division of Northbridge Financial, which is a Fairfax financial company. And organizationally, we do about $1.3 billion in business. What we have done, once again, is focused on startups and small businesses. And in doing so, we've made sure that we are delivering products and services that are suited towards the small business customer. So making sure the cost of entry into the space is affordable for our small business clients. So we actually have a policy that starts at $39 a month. So people spend more than that on Starbucks coffee in any given week. We also include a number of additional coverages in our policies to help support our small business customers. And one of the coverages we've built in that I think is outstanding is our legal expense cover. And this actually picks up to $50,000 per any incident, with up to $250,000 in any given year. This would cover employee disputes, contract disputes that you may have. CRA comes after you and you need to hire a lawyer. It would cover that. And as well, there's unlimited calls into a call center where you can ask your legal questions. So a really great service, we feel, for small businesses. The other thing is, cash flow is key for small businesses, so making sure our payment terms are flexible. So we allow our customers to pay on a monthly basis. You can pay by credit card without any financing fees. And so, once again, very focused on the startup community and making sure we're helping them be successful business people. One of the things we've done as well is partnered with different groups across the country. Enterprise Toronto is one of our key partners, and you can see on this slide that there are a number of different other organizations that we have partnered with. And a big thing we like to do is really bring the education to the table for our potential customers, making sure they understand the risks that they have in their business, talking to startups before they launch and invest a lot of money to make sure that they can be insured. So, whether it's baby toupees or baby beards, making sure that they understand the risks that they have. So one of the things we like to do as well when we're looking at businesses that we want to insure is the business sustainable? Because if the business is sustainable, we know we can have a potential customer for life. If the business isn't sustainable, the cost to acquire that customer and then lose them can really hurt our bottom line. And so I thought there was this great business. I don't know about everybody else in here. I'm a Shark Tank fan, and I know it's sensationalized. This guy came on, and it's like he's got the 3-sock business. Like, I don't know how many of you are at home, and they've got just a basket full of single socks. I don't know where the sock eater comes from. And I thought, this is a freaking brilliant idea. So, as business people, this is the way we all have to think. Because you may think you have a great idea, and using your mentors and outside resources to try and understand how sustainable your business is key. The last thing I'd like to close out with is, and it ties into the sustainability of a business, is working with confident people. We will have people who come to us who just don't seem to be confident in their business. And to us, that just spells disaster at the end of the day, because they're going to go out, they're not going to run their business properly, and at the end of the day, they're not only exposing themselves, but we are taking on that exposure as an insurance company. And so we believe that working with confident people is something that we all need to consider. And I have to say, as small business owners, entrepreneurs, I have so much respect for you, because you've got the guts to go out and do your own thing and take chances. It's easy for a guy like me working for the big company to show up for work, and a lot of things are taken care of for me. But you as entrepreneurs, are really outstanding individuals, and having that confidence and remaining confident in your business, I think is huge. So, on that note, thank you for your time, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. And if I can't answer them, I'll make up an answer. So.